is refusing to quit. Adama Barrow, who won last month's election, but President Yaya jammeh won't concede defeat to him. He's vowing to stay in office after his term ends on January 19th. Leaders from the regional bloc ECOWAS have put troops on standby in case jammeh refuses to hand over power. Let's take you now to Dakar. In neighbouring Senegal, Al Jazeera's Nicholas Hack is there. Immediately after the election, Nicholas, we saw members of the armed forces dancing with crowds on the street. And now the army chief is pledging his support to the current president. What's going on?
That's right, Adrian. We have footage of him, the army chief, dancing and cheering with the crowds that were celebrating the victory of the opposition leader Adama Barrow. But the last time we saw this general in public was when the West African mediation team came into the country to try to get Jammeh to concede power. And at the time, he was wearing a pendant with a picture of Yaya Jammeh, clearly showing whose side he is on. Now, since he's pledged his allegiance, his formal allegiance to Jammeh, not the Gambia, but to Jammeh, we've seen members of the military removing posters of the opposition, arresting people wearing T-shirts with the picture of the opposition leader. Now remember, this army is a small army of just 1,000 men, and Yaya Jammeh has taken several steps to ensure that that army stays on his side. So this is a position that Usman Baji has been holding for just a few years. His predecessor was in fact arrested and put in prison for treason. So this role of being the chief of army is an important role. It's one that Jammeh wants to keep on his side, because he knows that he doesn't have an army strong enough to match an ECOWAS or West African force that would come and intervene if he refused to hand over power to Adama Barrow on January 19th, Adrian.
In another significant development, the man who organised the presidential election has fled the country. Why?
So I couldn't hear you, Adrian. But the election commission chairman has left the country, has fled the country just a few days ago. And we have to remember that he's the first one from the entourage of Yaya Jammeh to step forward and stand against him by announcing election results that would announce the opposition as being the one that had won this election. Since then, he's been under threat. He says that his life is in danger, and so it's no surprise that he has fled to Senegal. He's one of a number of people who have fled the country in recent days. Top politicians, ministers have fled the country, fearing that there might be some sort of military intervention in the country. Yaya Jammeh, in the meantime, has sought, well, we've heard before that he sought some sort of rebel groups to come and help him to reinforce his troops from Liberia and Ivory Coast. There's been 2 senior military officers that have been recently arrested at the border of Mauritania. Clearly, he's looking for some sort of support from regional powers, from rebel groups, in order to foment some sort of stronger army to ensure that he can hold to power. But in the meantime, many people from his entourage are fleeing the country. Adrian?
Nicholas Hack, many thanks indeed. Nicholas Hack there live in Dakar, Senegal.